But okay, you said Michael and Quincy. So you were getting some of those track lists that weren't official because I didn't see any of those.
I got one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did it have any of the songs that we see here on this final one?
No, it's this track list.
Okay, so it's this track list.
Hmm.
Gotcha. Okay.
I
Cause
think you froze up on us again.
oh my god, sorry about that,
That's that
guy.
Illuminati. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
It is. You know what time it is. There we go. I can see you now.
You see me now? I don't think
Again.
the people see me right now. We'll see.
No, no. Yeah, yeah. The people can see you.
Can they? I don't.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't. I don't see it on my screen. Okay, you see me on your screen?
You're frozen on this side, but you're about to come back through in a minute, I imagine. You know,
Let's see.
obviously, I'm a little delayed.
Let's see. Let me
Yeah.
try this
You're coming
again.
back.
Cause usually what I see on my screen is live. Okay, I see myself now.
Okay.
Okay. Hopefully this lasts, and then it froze again. My God, bear with us, guys. Jeez, we got a super chat here from Smile and Wave. He says, "Look forward to the KD3 listening party." Yes, we're about to give some details on that too. That is going to be tomorrow night. That's going to be Eastern Standard Time. I saw somebody ask what you know what time zone it was. So it's definitely going to be Eastern Standard Time. And sorry about these yeah, people saying they don't see me.
Yeah,
Go
you
ahead and
can
speak to
phase
the
in and
track
out.
list while I figure this out.
Well, let's go over
Mm-hmm.
some of the track list and I'll tell you what. So I got this track list now. I'll tell you what. The first thing is that, and this is from the chat that I was in with the source and some other people who follow us as well, Mike. We heard that it was a 15 songs that he did. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, I looked at it wrong, and that's part of the reason why I thought that the list was fake, because when I was counting up the songs, I was like, this is 16 songs in a bonus track. I was like, I heard it was only going to be 15 songs. But then I was realizing I didn't really look at it. There's an interlude on here.
Okay.
So it is 15 songs in a bonus record. And that's when I was like, oh, okay. I missed that. That's my fault. That's just fatigue. That's just one of those clerical errors. That's one of those reasons that you like send shit to the editor for final like look over, and like, you know what I mean? A lot of the time it's not even about it's about the little things, you know. You went out again. But
Okay.
I'm gonna keep on going.
I'm gonna fix
Um
it.
the I think it's funny. I think the tracks that people want to hear or come from like a place of, I think, what they want to hear from him. And so I'll tell you that it's like, I think people want to hear Once a Man and Twice a Child, because that sounds like a song that would be a classic Nas song. You went out again.
That's cool. Keep going. I'm
Yeah,
fixing it.
I think people are obviously looking at Thun, because that's that QB slang, and is obviously referencing possibly Thun and Kiko. You remember Thun and Kiko off the Realness with Mega?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know now that like that's kind of where some of the riff with Nas and P too. You know what I'm saying? So it's like maybe he's speaking on that situation and how it really unfolded from his perspective, kind of like how he did with Death Row East.
Okay.
Allah, you feel me?
Yeah, which is always interesting content. You know, when he digs deep like that and gives us information that we weren't privy to otherwise.
Correct. So it'd be interesting to hear it from his perspective, possibly. So those are the songs that I think people like just upon first glance would want to see. But I'll tell you what, I'm interested in the stuff that sounds more bold to me, which really isn't typical of him. But I'm gonna go back. Like, I realized something that the source was just telling me a couple of hours ago on the thread, and it's like, oh, Mike, I think he's about to flex his muscle on this album.
What do you
You
mean?
know what I'm like? I think we're about to get like real goat talk out of him. Like the way that we laud, the way like Biggie and Jay talk,
Mm-hmm.
I think we're about to get that type of talk game out of him on this album, except for it's going to be like from Nas's perspective, but it's going to be like him touting his shit. Because it's like when I thought about Ghetto Reporter, I'm going to tell you the first thing that I thought. I thought about that line off the Firm album, the hardcore remake, when he said, Only bad quarters, not a thing shorter than a dime. Rhyme like a crime scene reporter. And when he said that, I was like, that kind of sums up his style rather nicely. I wouldn't be surprised if that same bar got sampled to start off this album or is mixed in there, because that kind of sums up his style. He's never the type of guy to make records that sum up his style and what his style does on record. And when you look at some of these songs, they appear to do that. And that's what I think is enticing about this. Like, his songs usually don't sound like, titles don't sound like Ghetto Reporter, Legit, WTF, SMH. I'm on fire. Think about that.
I'm interested to hear I'm on fire.
Me too.
Ghetto
'Cause it sounds
Reporter,
like
it really stands out to me. 30, I'm not sure what he means by that, but I'm interested to hear that. And To
that's
My
about to be.
Last Breath, the bonus. And Don't
Like
Shoot.
I think Recession Proof is fascinating.
I think Don't
Recession Proof.
Shoot and To My Last Breath being the last two is interesting.
I think Beef, he might be mocking how like today's rappers beef. Like, I don't even think it's what people think it's going to be. I think he might actually be like kind of like maybe poking kind of at how beef takes place today, modern day, as opposed to what he had to deal with, a la a Prodigy beef, a Jay-Z beef, a Tupac beef, a Biggie beef, a 50 beef, a Cameron beef.
Kind of like if he took on like that whole every day a star is born type of mentality where it's like you're going through like chronologically and going through it like with his individual ones, that could be epic right there. Let me get to some of the super chats real quick.
Yeah.
I think that all our technical issues may be resolved, so we can go ahead and get in the rhythm of the show right here. 36 Chambers says, can we get another link for the listening party? Yes, the listening party link is at the top of the chat. I think it's pinned to the top of the chat. And like I said, it's going to be tomorrow night, midnight, Eastern Standard Time, 11:11. I know that can be confusing, but it's going to be actually Thursday night, 11:59, just say, right?
Hold on, Mike, I would post the link again because I don't think I see it either right now.
You don't see it? Okay.
No.
Okay, I'll post it again. I got it right here. Andrew Green with the super chat says, peace, do y'all think, in fact, it's no features on KD3 or credits are just hidden? And which would you prefer? I'm good because Nas is the focus. I'm sorry. He says, and which would you prefer? Oh yeah, I'm good because Nas is the focus. I think they're gonna be features. I think that they're probably gonna reveal the features maybe sometime tomorrow. I have no type of inside information on that, but that's just my guess. But would I prefer just him taking it a solo mission or features? I would prefer a few features, not a lot, but just maybe like good 3. What do you think on that, Coop? Well, you got inside information, so you can't answer that, I guess.
I just don't think I'm getting my Raekwon feature. I'm sorry, Mike, like I'm real selfish. I don't think I'm getting my Raekwon feature, and that's really all I have to say about that. And I don't think, I mean, the way that it's looking to me is it's like, do not be surprised if Nas is the only rapping that you hear on here. But what I would also submit to you is that like, well, nobody raps by himself like as much as he does. That's like at the level that he's at, except for like maybe Scarface.
No,
you know
what
I'm saying? It's not like hearing Nas by himself is like something new unto himself. It's not like he's somebody who's made a career out of doing features with people.
Cube's kind of like that too. In Cube's prime, he didn't have like a lot of people or anybody on his records. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you even look at, let's look at his seminal records that people hold in highest regard. Well, Illmatic has one guest appearance.
Yeah.
It was written literally. Here are the people on it was written. It's like he literally damn near kept it in his hood or in his group. Well, there's Cormega. There's Foxy Brown. There's AZ. That all happened on one song.
Yeah.
There's Mobb Deep on another song. And there's Foxy and Havoc respectively doing hook work on other records. That's very minimal for an album that's 13 tracks deep. That's what I'm saying. So, and then you look at something like, well, the Lost Tapes. It's like, well, how many guest appearances are on the Lost Tapes, Mike? Pretty certain that's all Nas, right?
Yeah.
How many guest appearances are on Stillmatic, Mike? Because I'm pretty certain it's just
AZ.
Yeah. Feature. And I feel like who's that at the end? No. Who's on My Country? Is that Lake?
You got, Bravehearts on Braveheart Party and Mary J. Blige.
No, no, I just mean bar work, Mike. We're talking bar work.
Yeah. No, no, you're right. He's taken on a lot of these
Right, right.
undertakings on his own.
Even look at some of like the less popular albums. Look at like a Hip Hop Is Dead or the
Untitled.
End album.
Yeah.
Like on the End album, I think The Game and Busta Rhymes are the only people who make that album, correct?
Mm-hmm.
As far as like MCs, yeah. So this isn't like uncommon. The Nasir project, it has one Kanye verse, and like you know what I'm saying. So it's like you should be used to hearing Nas by himself. Life is Good, Mike.
Yeah.
Life is Good is pretty much a solo mission, isn't it? I'm trying to think like who else got bar work on Life is Good, Mike.
What a writer. He's a writer's writer.
That's what I mean.
CJ.
He's a real writer. Like if rap didn't exist and this was another time, he would still be like prolifically like highly regarded like in whatever era you would place him. He's one of those like transcendent players. It's like, well, how would LeBron play against? Well, it doesn't matter. Like LeBron would play good against anybody, like the same way Mike would, the same way Shaq would, the same way Bird. Matt, you know what I mean? When you're transcendent, it really don't matter.
I don't say this to disrespect anybody, but I think he is hip hop's best writer.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Maybe not quote unquote songwriter. I mean, I guess you could have a whole lot of different debates about that. But if we just talking about writing rhymes, he's the best.
No, I think
Straight up.
no. I mean, Mike, I think the catalog is getting to the point that you can make like he's been our best writer, like from a like what you prolifically want a writer to do and be standpoint. Like, but he is like that's what I mean. The beautiful thing about like his career, pretty much from Life is Good on, is the good song maker he's become. It's so
Yeah.
it's like I'm you're not gonna hear The World Is Yours or Made You Look Again.
I saw
But
Illmatic trending on Twitter, and I think that is
stop that.
people trying to find a way to
Let it
throw this
go.
album back into the lexicon and the
Well, this is
consciousness to get in the way of this release. You know what I mean?
absolutely. We're gonna speak to all of those things too, because I have some notes and I just kind of like want to point out some things like as we kind of like run this down and like start counting down
Oh, we're gonna get
to
to it. We're gonna get to it. It's gonna be a
yeah.
very
Well,
eventful 3 day run. CJ Kidd with the super chat says, so this KD3 effort is featureless. We don't know. We'll see. It's what it looks like for now. Shyster30 says, Nas hit y'all in the IG story. It'll be with you guys midnight. Bless up, guys. Oh, Nas put it in the story too? I don't know. Because I know Mass Appeal reached out to the page, and shout out to them. They gave us the track list, I want to say minutes before he put it out there and was like, they wanted to shoot it to us first. And, good looking out, Mass Appeal. I'm looking forward to
hold
hearing
on, Mike. That's not like that's the source putting that together and even like putting that in Mass Appeal's hands. So like the source is the one.
Well, yeah,
like
shout out to her too.
Yeah,
As well,
shout out to Mass Appeal, but like Mike behind the scenes, the source like made some moves for us to make sure that even happened, and like so shout out to her. She's solid as a motherfucker to me right now, Mike, because it's like she didn't even have to make that move. You know what I'm saying? Quite frankly, you know what I mean? Like it didn't necessarily behoove her at all to do that because we had already, you know what I mean, planned the streaming party out and decided that we was gonna run it anyway. But it's like the fact that she still like put that in play for us is super major. So shout out to her for being solid. Shout out to Mass Appeal for hitting us up. Shout out to Hit Boy for the retweet.
Yeah, definitely. Hit Boy's been showing love too. Look, I'm looking forward to hearing the music. 36 Chambers with the super chat says, Rap Roundtable addressed being excited for KD3 and how Magic is a 5 mic album. Will more publications will pick up on this due to the rollout? We'll see. I mean, I think everybody's looking and everybody's paying attention and watching carefully. And like I said, the music's gonna speak for itself. And as far as my opinion, once the music drops and the people talk about it, we talk about it with the people. I think people are gonna do the right thing.
Well, well, that's one of the things that I want to talk about. So tell me where we're going with this show or how you want to start unpacking these things. Because there's a variety of ways
It is.
that
let
we
me
could
go through
go.
the super chats real quick, and then we can kind of decide from there. Shyster30 says Nas is in a serious mode right now, with the face on the back says it all. Very serious. We got Andre says 30 might be a 27 Summers Part 2. Very good observation. I can see that.
That's possible.
I can see that because I think it puts him around 92. Yeah, 30 years right now.
I mean, Breaking Adams is the verse on Live at the Barbecue is 91. So I mean, I think it got released like late 91. So this would like line up like he can say like 3 decades in
Yeah.
halftime, or this might have been around the time halftime got
Right, because
done.
halftime's 92.
Yeah.
So that's where I was starting. But you're right. You can go even before that. Jay Short with the super chat says, "To my last breath" sounds like the title of his last song of his career. That's the one thing that stuck out. That stuck out for me too. It's like
There
my
is
first
something.
song type thing.
Well, no, there's just something about the look and the feel and the vibe to this that has a finality to it. I think the series is probably over. It kind of feels that way. I think they kind of just, I think,
It's
I
epic,
think,
man.
I think how Nas feels about Hit Boy, he's just like, no, 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 fuck it. Like, just give me him and we can go and make something better than all three of the previous ones without anybody else. I think their mission might have just been like, you want to know, I know we got all this, but let's just maybe hold that for Lost Tapes 3. And you and me, let's go get the job done, like old school style, like Eric B and Rakim style, like Cool G Rap and DJ Polo style.
Yeah.
Like old school Guru and Premier. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, no, you and me, we just gonna go get the job done. And that's what I mean. So look at the titles. This is old school flex and shit. Ghetto Reporter, Legit, Thun, Michael and Quincy, Beef, Don't Shoot, I'm on Fire. That sounds like an album Boogie Down Productions would have put together, Mike. Like that sounds like the way KRS-One used to talk. Like there's something like kind of bold about the titles and the sentiment.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be heavy.
Yeah. So I think it's like that, and it's like, I think I don't know, Mike. There's something about all this, even talking to the source, that makes me feel like both Hit and Nas feel slighted still. You feel me?
And shout out to you and your great journalism work for connecting with the source and being able to keep us updated on the progress of this as it was evolving, and especially the streaming part of it too, which we're gonna get to in a minute. But great work, man.
I haven't even been like, Mike. There's so much shit you don't know. One.
I like being surprised, man.
Right.
Andrell Green with the super chat says, "Hit Boy tweeted, it's dope to stand on your own too. That says a lot, Crypto.
Right.
Maybe they felt like they didn't need any help this go around.
Right. It feels that way. That's what I mean. Is like there's been a tone that the source has had the whole time that I have that I haven't really spoke to, and the tone has been like that of feeling slighted slightly. You feel me?
Yeah, magic will make you feel slighted.
Right. It's like, no, there's been some slight in this from the tone. Like that's what I mean. It's like when you're a journalist, Mike, you're supposed to like get in tune with like people's vibes and like understand what people is really like trying to tell you too. Like from the way they're trying to tell it to you too. And so a lot of the information that I've got has almost been like, first of all, I know how observant they are and how much more in tune they are than it seems like people who have made it to the points that they have respectively in their careers have. It lets you know that they're still kind of in tune. I think a lot of that is Hit Boy's influence, and that is why you keep things young and fresh, because it says a younger man's game in hip hop. I think Nas is understanding that as well. But there has been this like slighted overtone to it, I feel like at times, not all the time, but at times when talking about certain things, specifically, like Mike, that's the reason that I picked up the numbers, because that's where I felt the slight. That's where it's like, as a journalist, I was like, that's the touchy point. You don't touch the smooth shit, you touch the rough shit.
Yeah.
You feel me? I was like, that's a little groove right there. When she talked about that, the tone different. When we talk about the media, the tone different. Like this other shit kind of cool and we can make stories out of it and I can run with it. Oh, but that shit right there, touchy. I'm like, oh, Yeah.
36 Chambers with the super chat says, after hearing features like Eminem and ASAP on the past few albums, does it hurt him if KD3 has none from a streaming standpoint? Well, I will say that. I think from a streaming standpoint, I think features could help. But from an artistic standpoint, I could see where you're coming from, where this would be like more of a lost tape magic thing.
Well, what if what if what if they knew this all along, Mike? Like, what if they knew that they were really just going to go at it dolo, really, like last go around?
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason why even the source reached out, kind of, and like connected with me and was willing to deal with me and talk about some things, is because, well, they still got to cover some gaps and some bases, even if they want to do things a certain way. And so maybe elevating the consciousness and the education and the information of the audience helps supplement some of the things that they may not be doing that we're going to talk about. Like, there's been no real official single release. Okay,
that's different too, because there were singles for the two previous KDs.
correct. So maybe the approach and the motive has been different, and this is what I mean about the tone and it feeling and sounding old school. Well, not to be funny, Mike, but it's like they could have reached out to anybody and connected dots with anybody. And there are publications that, quite frankly, and I've said this to the source, well, they're not as good as us. They're just bigger than us, but they could have reached out to those entities and pumped them, but they pumped us instead. There's something grassroots and old school and hip hop about it. That's what I mean is like maybe the whole campaign behind this is to do it the old school way. It's like, no, like this is Nas and Hit Boy. Have you heard the last 3 albums? Like, spread the word like wildfire, like the grassroots old school kind of way. It's like, oh, they don't understand the grassroots way to create the groundswell. Well, that's where the education and the information about the streaming comes in. So maybe the marketing device is like making it grassroots in a digital age, like updating the formula, like I've been talking about.
Well, I'm a firm believer that things come back around, right? I think that like the old school way of doing things in hip hop where, people were just basically pulling up to maybe clubs or whatever and pulling up the radio or Stretch Armstrong and shit like that, freestyling, and that was their biggest level of promotion, and the promotion was more so word of mouth, like, yo, did you hear such and such freestyle on Stretch and Bobito's show the other night? Those type of things, the allure, it goes a long way. And I think that the level of engagement that we have with the people and the fact that we're talking to the people, it fits right in with those things. This is a viral society we're living in where you put out something yesterday, and if it goes crazy on the internet 3 days later, people are like, man, I've seen that. That's old. But conversations build things up.
Well, what I will tell you this is that you want to go ahead and have this conversation now, because this is a media conversation and about the media's role, even in all this, and even them reaching out to us and me building the relationship. I feel like.
Well, hold that thought. Let me get to these super chats and we'll jump into that. CJ Kid with the super chat says, with no features, this is looking more like Step in the Arena than Moment of Truth. Cool. We got Man there with the super chat said, who won the PE versus Eric B and Rakim matchup? We're going to get to that in a second, too. Shyster30 says, "To My Last Breath" sounds like a concept song of himself being the benchmark in hip hop. Dame252 says, "What are the possible street records?" I'm on fire. Michael Williams with the super chat says, "A poster on Reddit who knew about a poster on Reddit who knew about Magic a week in advance and leaked the KD3 track list 2 days ago, heard it and confirmed that there are no features." Okay. So sounds like there are no features until proven otherwise. Andrew Green says, "Have y'all heard the bonus track version of Freddie's album? Do you think those 5 extra tracks are going to make it harder for KD3 to pass that album of the year mark?"
Is Black Illuminati on there?
I haven't checked it out. See, I'm behind. I need to go check that out. We'll check that out. And then we'll be able to make an answer about that definitely Friday. Nas the GOAT says, "Do y'all think Nas will retire after this album?" I think he's gonna lay low for a minute. But I think if you lay low for a minute at this stage, yeah, I guess that is retirement, right?
I think he gets to do whatever he wants.
Yeah. I mean, he has the best catalog in hip hop at this point.
Sure. So
Peter Parks at the super chat says the New Yorker wrote a piece about Magic and it was good. Good. Shout out to the New Yorker for that. I
when did
need
they
to
do
check that
that?
out too. Right. Did they do it when it came out? They just did it. Jay Short
Right.
says, this feels like the end. I hate to say it. It does feel like the end. But it's fine, though. It's like,
If by
I'd
some chance
rather
it
it this
was,
way. I'd
uh,
rather it this
if
way than the outcast way. And I say that respectfully. But you know what I
no,
mean? Like,
well,
just
we're gonna talk.
disappear.
Well, when we have like the streaming portion of this conversation, we're gonna talk about, I mean, delve more into the other side. And I spoke of it briefly on the last show about like why this is important because we're just gonna get into it. So I'm gonna tell you what. Do you mind if I go?
Hold on, let me finish these super chats. We only got a
Go
couple
ahead with
more.
super chats.
Xavier Logistics says, when it's said and done, KD3 is the 3P. Magic is the Olympic gold medal. Nice way to put it. Shiesta30 says, ninjas in their feelings posting Grammys. Nas undisputed GOAT. Guru put it up and Khaled reposted it. Yeah, he's talking about Jay-Z posting a whole bunch of his, well, not a whole bunch of his Grammys, all of his Grammys, and Khaled put it up, said Hove did. NDU Jam says, I think that there are some features on the album. He hid them intentionally. I remember Kweli mentioning that he was supposed to be on the Black Star album too. Okay. I only got a couple more super chats, Coop, and we're going to get to it. Melvin Wright says, there wasn't a single for KD2. Rare dropped the night of the release. Okay. I thought Rare was the single. LP with the super chat says, no features make sense. Last three albums, all of them had them, yet the numbers were about the same. Big Sean, Dirk, Pat, Eminem, verses can't be cheap. Probably think it makes sense to just do it alone for the same number. Makes sense. That makes economical sense. Lucien, son of Africa, says Haitians are fighting economic freedom. The West. Where's the love from Black America, French, and Canadians? We got love for you, man. We got love. Leroy Green says, sincerely, hope KD3 makes me reconsider Jay's GOAT status. If so, y'all tell me what champagne you want. Mr. D says, if Nas don't acknowledge Ye or Kyrie, it's a big disappointment. LP says, y'all see Hip Hop DX post on Nas, they feeling the heat. I bet they are. Jadarian says, if you two are going to start dedicated Wednesday shows to lesser known artists, please check out Vel 9's album, Trophy Wife. Okay. Yeah, and we're going to do that. It's just always something big that pops up that we just can't ignore. Sean says, Ghetto Reporter gives me Stillmatic intro vibes, bro. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one too. Daryl Baxter says, Conway announced Nas is on his album. And
I
now,
saw that too.
okay. All right, go ahead. We were going to talk about media, right?
Well, what I would tell you, like for all of us that are sitting here today, there's a good portion of you who are sitting here today. And it's because I want you to follow the first story that kind of got you here and got you to According to Hip Hop. A lot of people started following According to Hip Hop because what, Mike? We started highlighting and pointing out how the media has unfairly been castigating and treating Nas for quite some time about a variety of things.
Correct.
Most of them not factually correct or unfounded. As in about 75 to 85% of it.
He's the worst beat picker in hip hop. Which,
Unfounded.
that right there.
Falsified. How the fuck can you be rhyming over DJ Premier and Pete Rock and Q-Tip and Salah Remy and
Listen, man, you could pull a pack of 20 of Nas's beats, and those are like freestyle anthem beats. Like, how many people you heard rhyme over Nas's like? That's his song.
Uchi Wally Made You Look.
Yeah. Those are his songs.
Those are his records. Yeah, you know whose records those are, right?
It's not a lot of people that you could pull 20 beats from their catalog and say, yo, I want to rhyme on this. It's not
No,
long.
what I keep telling you, Mike, is the beautiful thing about his 20 is I bet you his 20 has the most variety of producers of anybody else too.
I
That's
agree.
what I mean. It would be some of everybody in there in the 20. Like Large Pro would be in there, Preem would be in there, Q-Tip would be in there. You know what I'm saying? Salah Remy would be in there.
Trackmasters.
Hit
You know,
Boy.
at the end of the day, man, I want to say this because I know I was real critical on this initially as a hip hop fan and as a Nas fan. Trackmasters did some really good work with Nas. I think that the only problem with it was the fact that it was right after he had just worked with Premier, Pete Rock, Q-Tip, and Large Professor. And I think that just the tone of that previous effort and when Trackmasters came and did what they were doing, it got overshadowed and got underappreciated, I would say. But Trackmasters did some good work for Nas. And you look at the work that they did with other people, I would have to rank the work they did with Nas right up there with slightly behind LL. I think they did better work with Nas than they did with Jay. In my
They
opinion.
did.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so what tracks did they actually do? Like, because that's what I'm saying. It's like, because I want you to think about this when I say this. Is like, well, the shit that you remember it was written for, Mike, outside of the message, I'm not sure if they did the beat to that. Because Primo's I Gave You Power, okay? Havoc is the setup in live nigga rap.
They did If I Ruled the World. I think
So
they
if
did.
you want to say that they gave him his commercial viability,
Well,
I'll
I mean,
give
that's
you
not a
that.
bad record. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not
No,
a
I like
huge
If I Rule the
fan.
World.
Yeah. So they
Yeah,
did
no, I've
good
always
work.
enjoyed it. Mike, how many niggas on like a chart topping song and talking about I'd open every cell in Attica, send them to Africa? Like, no, like it's a dope record.
Yeah, they did Street Dreams. I believe
That's
they
what I mean.
did.
If you want,
I believe
like I
they
said,
did Shootouts too.
now, okay, I'll give them shootouts. Okay,
They did
there we go.
Affirmative Action as well.
Okay, I'll give them shootouts and affirmative action.
They
That's
did
some
Black Girl Lost.
Don't say that. See now, see how you were winning, and then you
But
took
I'm
a
just
step
saying.
back.
I mean, people like Black Girl Lost, and they may
No. The
watch them
content and
niggas.
subject matter is brilliant. The content and the subject matter is brilliant, Mike. The bar work is extensive and heavy and intricate. That beat is not good. Next,
CJ
it's like
Q with the super chat
Black
says,
Girl Lost. Like we're talking about the production side of things, right?
he's just talking about the beat alone. You're not gonna pull
Yeah,
that
Black
beat
Girl
out and
Lost is at the
freestyle
bottom.
over it.
But here's the problem with it, Mike. It's like when you hear, and this is around the time you have to understand. It's 1996. When you're hearing Nas rap over, hold on, who did Take It in Blood in Silent Murder?
Silent Murder was done by Live Squad.
And who did Take It in Blood?
Yeah.
Did LES do Take It in Blood?
Let's see. Live Squad again. Shout out
With
to
Take It in
Live
Blood?
Squad.
I'll tell you the problem
Wow.
with Trackmasters getting their credit. It looks like they just did the commercial stuff, Mike. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, they didn't do Take It in Blood. They didn't do Silent Murder.
They did Shootouts.
They didn't do Live Nigga Rap. They didn't do I Gave You Power. They didn't give them none of the street shit.
They gave them Shootouts.
They gave them Shootouts.
I give them that. CJ Kid with the super chat says, also RIP to Tame One and Hurricane G. Did y'all hear your thoughts on those two yet? Of course we heard. Rest in peace to them. You know, and prayers up to their family. Redman, you know, just off the top of my head when I hear both of those names is the first person that jumped in my mind. You know, I love what him and Hurricane G used to do together, his squad. And Tame One is Redman's cousin, so.
Saddened by both losses, Mike. It just seems like it'd be hard to keep track of the tally sometimes. It's like since we've been doing this podcast, it feels like we are doing like our own little condolences and memories and RIPs like too often when it comes to this. I still haven't even had time to really like dig in and find out what happened respectively in both cases.
Right.
Yes, just truthfully speaking.
Me either, but I'm gonna dig into that.
I want to know. Yeah.
Jay Short with the super chat says, does Nas throw a shot at Jay? Elephant in the room.
No. I don't care what people say. Hold on. Like Black Girl Lost just isn't a dope beat. It's just not a dope beat, Mike. You know that's not a dope beat.
I'm gonna be honest. I never liked Black Girl Lost like that. I never did.
And
it's one of those records where I'm not gonna say it's a bad song because it's not.
No, it's
but
not a
you
bad
see
song.
what it's around. I'm not.
Yeah. Like if you were picking the beats in order on that album, that beat would fall at the bottom. Or somewhere at. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Let's see. We're picking the beats on It Was Written.
Did they do
You know which
Suspect?
one I'm putting at the bottom, man.
No, Suspect is LES because he says LES on the Murder
No,
Quest.
I love
In the
Suspect.
Suspect. That's what I'm saying.
You
They
know
didn't
what?
give him
I'm
no
putting.
street shit, and so that was the problem. Like, because the street shit is like where the crux of it was written is like really like holding with people. It's like the lyrical density of it being street. I told you, it's the setup. It's taken in blood. It's that
You know
it's
what
that
beat
it's,
I don't like on this album? Nas is coming. I don't. I don't.
it's better than Black Girl Lost.
Black Girl Lost says it's LES and Trackmaster. So
Shame on both of them. Next.
okay. Michael Williams in the super chat says, if there really are no features, the degree of difficulty is insane. 17 tracks completely solo. Yeah, he's different. 17 tracks solo right after you done dropped 3 albums in less than 2 years. 3
Like,
quality albums too.
you want to know? This is what I'm saying, Mike. Like when Mike, since he's doing a song called Mike and Quincy. Well, Mike in his prime. I ain't never heard nobody say it's like, oh, well, like Mike didn't sing right on that track. It's like that's not about Nas. Like that's about the beat. That's '96 Nas. Like it's not a question of what the lyrics are. The lyrics don't fit the level of the beat. I mean, the beat don't fit the level of the lyrics. It just don't.
Spur 22 with the super chat says people always have to say something that's not true to try and take down goats. Nas is the goat. They try the same with Messi, who was the best sports player ever. Let's see. And Coop, you were talking about the media. Frank Wizard says Stretch did take it in blood. R.I.P. King.
Oh, that's probably. I bet
Is that Live Squad?
Stretch. Yeah,
okay.
I'm about to say that's Stretch from Live Squad, right?
Okay. So Stretch made I guess Stretch made Silent Murder too. Wow. Incredible. Shiesta 30 with the super chat says Nas hands down is that guy. That's why you have all the smear campaigns from everyone else just to lift that fake goat, Jay. All right, well, you're going to get into the smear campaigns.
Well, not even the smear about it. Well, what you have to understand is that most people pulled up on us, and they probably know about us, is because, well, quite frankly, other hip-hop publications really weren't talking about how he's been smeared or castigated until we started
saying they were a part of it.
Because they were a part of it, right? They are capitulating. And here's what I mean by capitulating. It's just like something like slavery or the Holocaust. It's like, oh, well, did you watch all of that happen? It's like, yes, well, that makes you an enabler, even if you weren't the one doing it directly. So there have been a lot of people doing it directly and indirectly by not giving him support or just standing quietly. And so that's how we all got here and got to this point of even being in a position to host the streaming party and to get a retweet from Hit Boy and a post from Master Appeal that's adding according to hip hop and getting the cover of the album early. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how we got here. So understand this. The media really does control everything. And so when people are talking about this minimized rollout, it's like, think about how you got here. Why do you think this rollout is being minimized? Like, because they've rolled out 3 projects already now. And let's look at like how things have been rated. How the sales have gone, like let's like honestly look at these things, and it's like no, they're just like they just bunkered down on this one, and that's why I'm telling you it's a lack of trust from the media that leads to a minimized rollout like this. He's not giving time for people to speculate, criticize, sneak attack. People still doing sneak attacks like posting somebody holding a bunch of Grammys. You feel what I'm saying? Part of the reason for the media rollout is images like you saw today. So that doesn't happen too much to take attention away. You get what I'm saying? Right.
No, definitely. And you know what? If this is truly going to be Nas's final album, I'm honored that we're able to be a part of it in this capacity. And I'm looking forward to, like I said, I think the music's going to stand on its own. I think this is a different. I don't want to say it's a different rollout, but I think this is a different level of anticipation and momentum from the fan base where you can actually, see. Because again, I think it really stood out to me, the Rolling Stone review for King's Disease 1. I thought it was so out of pocket, but I was like, well, it's just Rolling Stone not knowing what they're talking about. And then we got the KD2, which all of us loved. And, because I think KD1 was like much better than we expected. But KD2 was like, oh, this is really, really dope. And then I saw the review from Pitchfork and how they broke it down. And I think we had been talking about on the episode before that how the media has, played Nas in that way. And you brought up the Vibe interview for It Was Written. And I just didn't realize how deep this rabbit hole went with his relationship in the media until we started talking about it. So it's like, at least for me, I was learning with the people. Like I knew there was, notions out there like Vlad saying what he says, but I didn't know how deep it went and how it was almost like they never wanted to say anything positive about anything that Nas put together, and it's crazy.
Like, why? This is me at 15, almost 16 years old, Mike. Why is an album review from our biggest black media publication comparing Illmatic, which has literally been out about 2 years and 3 months, been out about 27 months. Why is this album being compared to Paid in Full, The Greatest Adventures of Slick Rick, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, and Criminal Minded?
The slander was real.
Like Mike, for anybody even aspiring to be a journalist like I was at 15 years old, it was like, hold on, I'm like red flags everywhere in my 15-year-old head, Mike, as a young journalist wanting to be a writer. And being a young MC, that's the summer, Mike, that's the summer that I started like writing articles and rapping. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I was like, oh, I'm like, how is that? Because even at 15 years old, Mike, I knew what Paid in Full and The Greatest Adventures of Slick Rick was. I wasn't as familiar with Criminal Minded and It Takes a Nation of Millions, like end to end.
Mm-hmm.
But I was familiar with Paid in Full and The Greatest Adventures of Slick Rick. I'm like, oh, they fucking tripping.
Right. Like, what are we even doing?
What are we doing? And by the way, Mike, this is to start off his sophomore album. Why are you talking about the previous album to start off the review for the right?
It's a script. Right. I mean, it's been a script since
like I told you,
one.
Mike, that's the blueprint of how to slander him musically.
Yeah.
They laid it out right there.
Mike H with the super chat says, my first album had no guest appearances. The outcome of crowned the best lyricist. Getting last album vibes from this. Say it ain't so, A2HH.